What's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the Young Guns podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about New Jersey's very own Jack Hughes, the best player currently on the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey Devils, essentially, we've covered them in the past before. They're a team that surprised many, but a team that could potentially go very far into the playoffs. And a big reason why is due to Jack Hughes, the most promising player for years to come, a franchise player. This year he's the best player on the third team in the NHL, like I just alluded to. He's on pace for 54 goals, 103 points as a 21-year-old. He has the longest shift in NHL history, which is 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Um, that was beat in the month of December. I think the record held since 2007, 2008, if I'm not mistaken. He scored a game tying goal with 10 seconds left, second in the NHL for goals scored um, versus against. I don't know what the GSVA stands for, but whatever. I guess that's what it means. And getting better as the season is going. So essentially, what we're trying to do here is build a Hart Trophy case for Jack Hughes and say that he will have a career year if he does pass his total, which is 56 points in 49 games, which was last season. And this year he is 1 point shy of tying his record. He has 55 points in 44 games. So he could potentially beat his record with 5 games less than he did last season. He has 29 goals and 26 assists for a total of 55 points. He has 6 power play goals, 17 power play points, and he has 4 game-winning goals. So, can Jack Hughes win the Hart Trophy with guys like Connor McDavid, David Pastrnak, Jason Robertson, and Tage Thompson being in the mix potentially to win it, the Hart Trophy? As it stands now in terms of Hart Trophy odds, he is plus 1,400. So he's moving up there, and he could make a strong case for a Hart consideration in the second half of the NHL season this year.
Yeah, no, he's played some really fantastic hockey. He's been really good, and this is a guy that if he can stay healthy, is a 80, 90 point, even maybe 100 point player in this league. We all know how good Jack Hughes is. We all know the capabilities that he has. There's a reason he went first overall in 2019. He signed that massive extension this summer, 8 million for 8 years, and honestly, that right now is looking like a steal for him because he's playing out of his mind. Last year, like you mentioned, he had 56 points in 49 games. Obviously, suffered an injury which kept him out for the rest of the season. And then in 22-23 so far, he's got 44 games played, 55 points, and he's absolutely shattering his he's gonna absolutely shatter his career totals. He's almost at 30 goals as well this season, which has been absolutely huge. He's the difference maker in New Jersey. Him, Jesper Bratt, and Nico Hischier have all played big roles. And I think one of the biggest things too is people need to realize that this guy is the real deal, and people that were sleeping on him in his first 2 years as an NHL rookie, both in 2019-20 and 2020-2021, are looking really dumb right now because Jack Hughes is showing just how good he is and why he went first overall when he did. And the thing is, I mean, look, the Devils got a good core going over there, and having a guy like Jack Hughes, who is a franchise player for them, and is playing really, really well, and is showing that he is a more than a point per game player, that's going to help New Jersey, especially in their playoff run, and seeing how good Heischer and Bratt, as well as their other team, other players as well. It goes to show you that New Jersey are not far off from being a really good contending team, if they're not already. And having Jack Hughes playing, this well at the age of 21, like I said, if he can stay healthy, the Devils have themselves a really good team moving forward. But not only that, this is a guy that is going to take them to the promised land and potentially, help them win a Stanley Cup. And his contract's a steal. $8 million for 8 years is an absolute steal, considering what Matt Boldy got yesterday and for what he's done lately. Um, to see Jack Hughes get that type of money is really good, and also the fact that he's playing and he's overachieving that contract. I think New Jersey fans are very happy with what they've got from Jack Hughes so far.
Yeah, and in terms of Matt Boldy's contract, it was 7 million for 7 years. And I found out what GSVA stands for. It's game score valued, value added. Sorry. So essentially, it's his market value in terms of like fantasy hockey rankings. That's what it stands for. He's second place in terms of that.
Yeah.
So getting back to uh, Jack Hughes, so he's currently ranked ninth in the league for total points. He is 1 point shy from Matthew Kachuk with 56 points, uh, 3 points shy from Eric Carlson, who has 58 points, and also Tage Thompson. And he is 5 points shy from Jason Robertson with 60. So, in the next couple of games, or the next couple, like 2 weeks, I would say, Jack Hughes could potentially find himself in the top five in terms of total points in the NHL this season. He will not pass Connor McDavid, who has 83. Draisaitl is a possibility with 68. Kucherov and Pasternak are possibilities as well with 62 points. But the way that Jack Hughes has been playing so far in the new year, he's taking the NHL by storm.
But
And yeah,
but it's not just that, right? So, what's interesting, and you mentioned Eric Carlson, you mentioned Tage Thompson, you mentioned Matthew Kachuk, all those guys that are on that list for, most points in the NHL. What's interesting is Jack Hughes is the youngest one out of all of them, right? He's 21 years old. And so what's interesting about Jack Hughes is that this is a guy that when the first two seasons, and he reminds me a little bit of, kind of what people look at in terms of just first overall picks in general. He reminds me a little bit of what Nathan McKinnon was, right? Where his first two seasons in the NHL, he was not having trouble getting into the NHL, but he was having trouble, figuring out his game, and then he just popped off. And this is kind of what Jack Hughes is doing right now. And to me, it's not crazy to think about that this guy can be a potential top five player in this league as early as 2, 3 years from now, because he's really showing, and he's got so much talent. He's one of the most talented players I've ever seen on the ice. If he has the puck, every single time he has the puck, you look at him and you go, he's gonna score. Like you have the feeling in your mind that something magical is gonna happen when Jack Hughes has the puck. And to be honest, not a lot of players in this league have that, right? Guys like Crosby, McDavid, Matthews, you know, Kale McCarr to some extent as well, McKinnon. But I would throw, even guys like Jack Hughes in that category because he's that good. He's got so much talent. And again, like this is a guy that's not playing with high end wingers, right? He's a guy that, has played with Jesper Bratt for a little bit at that point, but hasn't had elite wingers to necessarily play with, right? He doesn't have a Mitch Marner on his wing. He doesn't have a Leon Draisaitl on his wing. He's playing guys like with Miles Wood and Fabian Zetterlund. He's played a few roles with them as well. So it's interesting to see how well he's doing with wingers that aren't at the top of their game. And the reason I say that is because Jesper Bratt, I believe, is playing with Nico Hischier. And so that leaves, Jack Hughes essentially with either Andre Palat, Thomas Tatar, or Zetterlund and Miles Wood. And even at that, like those guys are not, first line caliber players, right? So that's what makes Jack Hughes' thing even more impressive. That the fact is that if New Jersey had an elite winger, like imagine if they had a Johnny Gaudreau on, Jack Hughes's wing, like
yeah,
how
or,
much
or
better
maybe
he
they
would
add a
be.
guy like Timo Meyer to deadline. Like right
But
now,
that's it.
Hughes is playing with Tatar and Erikala, who
Yeah,
are in their, essentially their twilight years, in my opinion. Even though they've had pretty good seasons, and then you have Nico Hischier on the first line with Palat and Bratt. Like if
that's
I'm
it.
Hughes, I would rather play with those two. But Jack Hughes is just able to just carry a line. He's able to essentially carry a team, and like all you know all credit goes to the whole team in terms of the players and the coaching staff for this season
Absolutely.
in terms of them being a top three team. But Jack Hughes, man, if I'm not mistaken, out of the 55 games he's played, sorry, the 44 games he's played this season, there's only been like 10 games or 11 games where he's gone scoreless. And all the other games, he's been a point per game or he's had 2 or 3 points. Um, in those remaining games. So for me, like it's a no-brainer that Jack Hughes should be a Hart nominee. Does
Oh
he
yeah, hundred
necessarily
percent.
win it? I don't think so. But I
But
mean, at 21 years old to be doing what he's doing, a lot of people were saying, Jack Hughes at first overall pick,
yeah,
um, it's not looking good these last couple of seasons. He's supposed to be more dominant, but in the modern era of hockey, a lot of these top um, players that are drafted in their respective draft years, it takes a little bit longer to develop it. This is
but
not like the early 2000s or the 90s or 80s or 70s where right off the bat these guys are getting 70, 80 point seasons or 50
yeah,
goals. Now it's taking a lot longer. The game has changed in terms of development, but
agree.
you know, Jack Hughes deserves every single bit of respect and should not be considered a
Uh,
a slow developer in terms of his development. I think he's exactly where he's supposed to be at. He's only 21 years old. Like everyone, take a chill pill,
yeah,
and I could potentially see him at by the end of the season top five in points. I do
bro.
believe that he'll have maybe a 35 or 40 goal season if things
Oh,
continue to
he
go
might
well.
even hit. He might. I'll be honest. He might even hit 50.
Yeah, that's possible too. I
He
think
might
that's
even hit
possible.
50.
But people don't forget. But what people forget essentially is that in 210 games, he has 163 points, which is
That's
a
good.
good ratio for points in total of games. 73 goals, 90 assists. You know, this is fantastic in terms of
And
that ratio.
not only that, he leads the Devils by 10 points. The second highest point scorer on the Devils is Jesper Bratt with 45 and 44 games. Nico Hischier has 43 and 43, which means Jack Hughes, playing second line minutes, has 10 more points than Jesper Bratt and 12 more points than Nico Hischier. Right? And obviously, yes, I know they played together on the power play, but I'm talking about just the fact that, like, all around, all the points combined, that's insane. Like, that to me is hard caliber. And if the Devils continue and they're playing fantastic hockey, and he continues to put up the points that he's putting up, Jack Hughes, I would put him in the conversation for the Hart, because he's single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, but he's played a big role in where the Devils are, and he's been a huge reason as to why the Devils are so successful this season.
So
So,
so at the end of the day, like, yes, he will surpass his career,
oh,
high
absolutely,
at
yeah,
56
yeah.
points. He's already at
Shatter.
55. So yes, it will be a career year, but with the impact he's had on this New Jersey roster this season, with how well the team has played, with him being potentially a Hart nominee or at least in the conversation, being top 10 in points in the NHL so far this season, with with the possibility of potentially adding a top 6 winger like maybe Timo Meyer or Brock Besser and potentially being on the same line as Jack Hughes. Yeah, I do think that Jack Hughes will have on a 100-point season, and I do believe that this is going to be a season that people are going to be talking a lot about in terms of Jack Hughes' development, and I think he's just going to continue to get better and better and better. And this is just the start, and he's finally peaking. He's finally essentially hitting his ceiling, or at least the plateau of what he's expected to do as a first overall pick in the 2019
Yeah,
draft. So I'm very happy to see this. I think New Jersey Devil fans are probably happy to
of
see this
course.
as well. We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Will Jack Hughes be in the conversation? Will he be a nominee? Do you still consider this a career year, even though he doesn't win any awards? And you just look at it in terms of points basis, or do you believe that to have a career year it takes more than just points? It's also about the impact you have on your team. And looking at Jack Hughes and your New Jersey Devils, they look like a serious contender for the 2023 Stanley Cup. So guys, we'll see you on the next episode of the Young Guns podcast. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and thank you so much for watching.